Chapter 7. The Journey Begins. Zoe's heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs, each thump echoing the unease that had taken root deep within her. The glow of her phone screen cast her face in a ghostly light. The endless scroll of social media, a dizzying carousel of images and words. Just keep scrolling. Maybe something will make sense, she says. She sucked in a breath, desperately trying to calm the frantic flutter in her chest that had taken hold. But the more she looked, the more the unease burrowed deeper. It had started with the usual noise, memes, updates from friends, but then a post caught her eye, snagging her attention as if it were a fishhook piercing her skin. She stops abruptly, her eyes widening at a local news article. She taps on it. It was a local news story, bold and menacing. Human man found dead in the woods, his mutilated dog sighted nearby. The headline screamed from her screen, the accompanying photo adding a layer of grim reality that made her stomach churn. The picture showed a stretch of unruly forest, its trees casting jagged long shadows that seemed to writhe like snakes, and the words were enough to twist her stomach into knots. It was the starkness of it, the cold, hard truth of the headline, which left her feeling so exposed. But it was the picture of Jake, a face full of laughter, now rendered a ghost by the starkness of the news, that gripped her heart the most. She knew him, knew his smile, his gentle soul, and the thought of all that now being somehow connected to something as dark as this sent a chill down her spine. No, 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 she whispers. She throws the phone aside, scrambling off the bed, barefoot. Her expression is a combination of shock and panic. Zoe bursts out of her room, throwing a jacket over her shoulders as she runs down the hall. The jacket isn't zipped as she heads towards the door. Zoe sprints down the street, the cold pavement biting at her bare heels. John answered, but he wasn't his usual smiling, welcoming self. His face was a mask of raw anger, his eyes red as he choked out the awful news. Jake was gone. No note, no sign, no explanation, just gone. Zoe's breath hitched, and a wave of nausea washed over him. "He went into the woods last night, John," she stammered, her voice trembling with panic. "There was a post online, a news story." She could barely finish the sentence as steam began to well in John's ears, his throat clenching closed. John broke down in serious fury in response, his yelling echoing in the small doorway, a sound that was a mixture of pain and desperation, and a sound that was far too much for Zoe to bear. She needed to tell someone. She needed to get help. "I need to get help. I need to reach Anna and Emily," she said to herself. She fumbles with her phone, quickly typing a message. Zoe's fingers fumbled with her phone, desperate to send a message to Anna and Emily, her thumbs flying across the screen, typing out the frantic message. "Jake's gone. The woods. Please come home now," and hit the send button, her heart hammering against her ribcage. But as minutes ticked by, and there was no response, Zoe felt as though invisible chains were tightening around her, suffocating her in her panic. Panic edged into her voice as she turned, running towards home, her heart pounding out a frantic rhythm, a drumbeat to her fear, as her feet slapped against the pavement. At home, she burst into the living room, where Kenji was reading by the window, his brow furrowed in concentration, the afternoon light illuminating the words of his Bible. She launched into her story, the words tumbling over each other in her desperation. "Dad, you have to help. Jake's missing, and there was a post online about a man and a dog in the woods, and they were brutalized." Her voice broke off as she tried to push back the tears that threatened to spill. His brow furrowed deeper, and his Bible slid from his lap, falling onto the nearby chair with a soft thud. "What are you talking about?" he said, his normally calm voice edged with a sharp note of concern. He stood and moved towards his daughter, his eyes scanning her face, searching for the cause of her distress. Before she could explain fully, the front door opened, and Preacher Francis walked in from outside, his face a picture of jovial cheer as he called out his usual greeting. "Preacher Francis, Jake's gone. He went into the woods last night, and the news said, A man and a dog were attacked. He was mutilated, and the dog is too, Zoe said, her voice breathless as she recounted the news story and John's angry face, the picture of Jake, and the feeling of absolute dread that had slowly been festering inside John. Francis's usual jovial face hardened, his eyes glinting with a newfound intensity, the easy smile lost to a scowl. Jake? Missing? His voice was a low, guttural growl of concern, his hands clenching into fists. We need to get the girls. Immediately, Kenji. I want to see them here now. Something's badly wrong here. Minutes stretched into an eternity as they waited, the tension in the room thick enough to choke on, the crackling fire doing little to allay the coldness that had settled in the room. Zoe paced back and forth, her heart thumping nervously as she looked at the door, her gaze fixed, willing the girls to arrive faster. When the door finally burst open, Emily and Anna rushed in, their cheeks flushed, a mixture of wind and worry painting their faces, and their eyes wide with a terror that was the mirror of her own. Zoe felt a surge of relief as she saw them, but also a flicker of fear as she looked at them, her best friends now as terrified as she was. Before anyone could speak, Emily grabbed Zoe's shoulders, her grip surprisingly strong as she searched her face for answers. What is it? What happened? Zoe, tell us. Zoe takes a deep breath and explains everything, the news story, the post, John's enraged breakdown, and the dread he feels. She relates every detail. The girls listen intently, the gravity of the situation sinking in. When she's finished, a heavy silence falls over the room. Emily's face was as white as a sheet, her eyes wide with a terror that mirrored her own. The monster, she whispered, her voice barely audible, her head shaking slightly. It must have taken him. Anna's eyes, once usually so full of calm confidence, were now filled with a terrifying realization, her gaze moving from her sister to her younger sibling, her face drawn and grim. That's it, isn't it? That's why he's gone. It has to be, she breathed, her voice low and fearful. The words hung in the air like a secret oath, a shared understanding that something sinister was at play, something that they had all tried to ignore until it had come for them. The three girls exchanged determined glances, a pact forming in the firelight of their fear, the shared look a silent agreement that something had to be done. We have to find him, a determined Zoe said. We have to bring him home. No matter what, a nodding Emily said. They were scared, yes, but they were also fierce, a force of nature that even the monsters of the world had to take notice of. We're not giving up on Jake, ever, Anna said. Their best friend was out there, somewhere, and whatever it took, whatever they found, they were ready to face the dark beast that had stolen him. Because best friends didn't just walk away. They were there for each other, no matter the cost, especially when they were dealing with a monster, a creature that likely to blame for the disappearance of the most important person in their lives. The air in the room crackled with a nervous energy, punctuated by the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway, each tick a metronome counting down to some unknown, terrible event. Kenji cleared his throat, breaking the tense silence. Okay, he said, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. We need a plan. We can't just rush into the woods blindly. We need to think strategically. Francis nodded in agreement, his eyes narrowed in thought. Kenji is right. We need to inform the authorities and get a search party organized. The sooner, the better. Also, we need to pray for God's guidance and protection. Emily, Anna, and Zoe exchanged worried glances. Calling the police felt like a necessary evil, but a large part of them feared it wouldn't be enough, that the authorities wouldn't understand the true nature of what they were facing. Even worse, in their experience, there was a not insignificant chance that Jake would simply be written off as another autistic kid who had simply wandered off. What about the news story? Anna asked, her voice barely a whisper. The mutilated man and dog, that's too close to home to be a coincidence. We need to investigate that. And what about the monster? Zoe piped up, her eyes wide with fear. What if it's still out there? What if it's waiting for us? Emily took a deep breath, trying to suppress the rising tide of panic. We need to be prepared, she said, her voice gaining strength. We need to arm ourselves. And we need to find out everything we can about this thing. Whatever it is, it's taken Jake, and we're the only ones who can get him back. Kenji, despite his worry, felt a surge of pride in his daughters. Their courage and determination were a testament to their love for Jake, a boy who had become an integral part of their family. All right, he said, nodding firmly. We need a talk first, he hesitated. The girls recoil. Oh no, Dad, we already had that talk about relationships. I know that stupid stuff already, Emily said to Kenji. Kenji chuckles nervously and said, Oh no, absolutely not that. Most definitely not that. You see the mark on you, Emily? Francis asked. Emily actually sees that she has the mark on her arm, and her sisters soon follow the same pattern. What the hell? Zoe asked. What? Francis asked as he pokes her in the chest. Weird, you say? It is more than that. It is the light stare. When you use it on an enemy, it changed them from bad to permanently good. What? Anna asked. You mean that's what happened to someone who tried to sexually assault me one day? The light stare is an awesome gift, a blessing to you three girls, Kenji said. It will make you girls the most powerful angels in the universe. But, the girls cut him off and ask, but what? Kenji side-eyes Francis, but told him, oh no brother, it is you who must tell them about the butterfly girls. This got the girls confused. Hold on, what the hell are the butterfly girls exactly? Emily asked. Kenji looks at Francis, who nods him to do so. This way, girls, Kenji says, as he walks away. The girls, still confused, walk with Kenji and Francis underneath a basement. They kept walking. After a moment, Emily spotted something and stopped on her tracks. Francis goes next to several webs from spiders, which he brings them down to show a massive room. Kenji smirked over his right shoulder, then continues to enter. Whoa, the girls shouted. Emily walks side by side with Kenji. This is the lair of the butterfly girls, Kenji said, before he bounds into an open chamber, with a table. Cobwebs and skeletons are everywhere. It's the secret meeting place for the girls, Kenji continued speaking. Zoe was disgusted by the way the room looked, until Francis opened the window blinds. Emily and Kenji walk past several paintings on the wall. Enough of these secrets. What are the butterfly girls? Emily asked. Kenji walks up to join Emily and the girls. Kenji started. The butterfly girls are the team that protects the chosen one who saved them from cocoons. According to tradition, the team is made of 3 members, Lumenheart, leader, Solvale, and Dawnbreak, Kenji said. Each butterfly girl was watched over by a celestial guide, living fragments of heaven. As he spoke, a faint glow filled the air. Dust motes shimmered, suspended like stars. The light coalesced into 3 drifting orbs, soft blue, deep crimson, and pale silver. The girls gasped as the orbs unfolded into shape. 3 butterflies, their wings beating with faint holy light. The blue one hovered before Emily, her wings patterned with gold veins that shimmered like tears in the sun. Emily Hashimoto, the butterfly spoke, her voice like a hymn carried on wind. I am Lirael. I have watched you since birth. Faith burns within you brighter than fear. This is when Emily had a thought. So what suddenly happened to them? Emily asked. They haven't been here in 1,000 years. It never had a great ending, sadly, Kenji said. They walked to the wall with the paintings on there. Kenji started. In 1937, when I was almost an adult, I met the love of my life, Aria. She was everything light was meant to be, brave, gentle, and strong enough to bear the weight of 1,000 worlds. Her sisters, Charlotte and Isla, were the other 2 wings of that light. Together they were the butterfly girls, protectors of the innocent, guardians of the divine balance. Ethereal images appeared in the flashback, 3 glowing figures with radiant, butterfly-like wings, standing before an altar of light. Aria also had the gift of the stare, which made her my true hero. I didn't understand it then, what they carried, or the burden they bore. I was just a boy in love. My parents told me to take her to prom that night, which Arya excitedly accepted my offer. But fate had already made its choice. A slow rumble occurs in the flashback, a shadow blotting out the stars. The sky splits with red lightning. Something vast descends from the heavens. That afternoon, I was attacked by something that no man should ever see. An extraterrestrial space monster descends through the atmosphere, his body wreathed in burning debris. The ground quakes as he lands. With a red visor for an eye, a scythe-like blade on his right arm, while his left arm had 3 fingers. An armored bipedal body, a very long tail, an avian head with a metal beak filled with sharp teeth, and metal crests on his head and neck, as well as crescent moon-shaped spines on its back. When in flight, it had energy-based wings, similar in shape to a vulture-like bird of prey's wing. It was no demon, no creature of Earth. That horrible day, it wasted no time in trying to kill me, Kenji stated. Then, a flash of light. Arya and her team descend from the sky, wings blazing with holy radiance. Arya and her team came to save me. They fought with everything they had. But it wasn't enough. This alien was beyond us. He didn't just kill them, he studied them. He wanted to understand what made them shine. Charlotte is impaled. Isla's light flickers and dies. Arya, bleeding, drops to her knees, but raises her head to face the monster. Her eyes glow with divine fury. In her final breath, Arya unleashed a burst of pure light. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She became the light. It burned the clouds, split the earth, and turned Stargazer's body to ash. A brilliant explosion engulfs the screen. White light consumes everything. When it fades, Kenji is kneeling in the ruins, holding Arya's lifeless body. Her butterfly wings crumble to dust in his hands. She said my name one last time, before she died in my arms. Kenji continued, and the final pieces of the story were, she gave birth to you 3, and I was told to look after you. For weeks after the battle, scientists gathered what remained of him. Tiny fragments of metal, alien tissue, pulsing with impossible energy. They discovered something horrifying. Eons ago, long before human history began, a distant region of the universe was consumed by a dying star's collapse, not into a black hole, but into something much stranger. A void core, a seething nucleus of corrupted gravity and broken laws of physics. From this core emerged a sentient fragment, an embryonic entity of raw entropy, hatred, and hunger. This fragment didn't drift aimlessly. It cocooned itself within a crystalline biomechanical husk, and hurled through space like a malevolent seed. Thus was born the Doomseed Comet, a spiraling obsidian meteor, pulsing with alien veins of light and screeching psychic energy. Wherever it passed, stars dimmed, planets sickened, life decayed. When it neared Earth, ancient celestial watchers, themselves long extinct, attempted to repel it. They failed, and the comet was fractured. The largest shard crashed into Earth millions of years ago, embedding itself deep within the planet. From it, over eons, the monstrous consciousness of this alien began to gestate, feeding off geothermal energy, latent radiation, and eventually human fear and conflict. Now awakened by a modern nuclear accident, seismic upheaval, or dark magic, the space monster rises, not as a being of flesh or spirit alone, but as a living paradox, part alien weapon, part starborn predator, and part vengeance, made form. The scientists named him Stargazer, the space invader. "Oh my God," a horrified Emily said, as she put her hand on her mouth. "This is a deadly blessing, but not without any setbacks," Francis said. "And that one monster soon got Jake in his grasp. We need you to go get him back, because starting today, you are the new leader of the Butterfly Girls," Kenji declared. "Wait, really?" Emily said. "You heard my boy. It is you, leader of the Butterfly Girls," Francis said. Emily asked, "This is true?" And Kenji responded, "Yes, ma'am. And now as the leader of the team, we need the other 2 girls in this." Kenji looked at Zoe and Anna, who were shocked, and shouted, "Wait, what? Are you insecure, Dad?" Guys, listen. This is taken very seriously. Jake and your lives will depend on who's in this battle against that demon, Kenji said to them. The crimson butterfly descended toward Anna, wings dark as blood and shimmering with firelight. Anna Hashimoto, she said in a firm, tempered tone. I am Seraphine, guardian of strength. You will not break, even when love demands your pain. Finally, a silver butterfly settled gently on Zoe's hand, tiny wings glowing like moonlight through glass. Zoe Hashimoto, she whispered, her voice innocent, almost childlike. I am Noel. I see the light you hide beneath your fear. Don't let it fade. Kenji's voice trembled as he spoke. These are your guides, the spirits of the old butterfly girls reborn to protect you. Francis nodded solemnly. They will show you how to awaken your light, but you must be willing to suffer for it. Lirael turned to Emily. The monster that took Jake is not of this world. It feeds on despair. You must face it together, or perish alone. The girls reluctantly joined, despite how deadly Vargoth truly is. Francis placed a comforting hand on Kenji's shoulder. I'll contact the church and get a prayer vigil started. We need all the help we can get, both earthly and divine. As the girls moved into action, a sense of grim determination settled over the house. The atmosphere was heavy with fear and uncertainty, but also with a forced resolve. They were a family, bound together by love and loyalty, and they would not rest until Jake was safe. Hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Anna and Zoe hunched over their computers, scouring the internet for any information about Specimen A. They delved into obscure forums, conspiracy websites, and scientific journals, piecing together a fragmented picture of a creature that defied explanation. The information they found was disturbing, to say the least. Whispers of a government experiment gone wrong, a creature born of genetic manipulation, a being of immense power and terrifying brutality. Some claimed it was a myth, a figment of paranoid imaginations, while others swore they had seen it with their own eyes, a fleeting glimpse of something that would haunt their nightmares forever. Meanwhile, Emily and Anna were gathering supplies, loading backpacks with essentials, flashlights, batteries, rope, bandages, water bottles, and non-perishable food. As they worked, they discussed their strategy, trying to anticipate every possible scenario. We need to be careful, Emily, Anna said, her voice grave. This isn't just a missing persons case anymore. We're dealing with something dangerous, something we don't fully understand. I know, Emily replied, her eyes filled with determination. But we can't let fear paralyze us. Jake needs us, and we're not going to let him down. As darkness fell, a small group gathered outside the Hashimoto house. Emily, Anna, and Zoe, armed with flashlights and backpacks, were ready to face the unknown. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the silence was broken only by the rustling of leaves and the distant hooting of an owl. Remember, Kenji said, his voice low and serious, stick together, be vigilant, and pray for guidance. We don't know what we're going to find out there, but we have to be prepared for anything. With a shared nod, the girls turned and stepped into the woods, the beam of their glowing eyes cutting through the darkness, illuminating the path ahead. The journey had begun, a perilous quest into the heart of darkness, a desperate attempt to rescue a friend from the clutches of a monster. They ventured deeper into the woods, the trees closing in around them like grasping claws, a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked within. A terrifying journey to bring Jake home.